First off is describe something important that has been kept for a long time in your family. You should say what it is, when your family had it, how your family got it, and explain why it is important for your family. Here are some possible answers. It could be a treasure chest or a treasure box, any forms of antique, or some collectibles. Then think about the reasons why your family is keeping one of these things. Maybe because of sentimental value or market value. Like for the antique, the older the item, the higher the price is. Or maybe your family is just compulsive hoarders. I have prepared some adjectives that you can actually use. We have priceless, valuable, rare, ancient, or expensive. So try using some of these adjectives when talking about a thing that your family has been keeping for a long time. Next, describe a time when you ate something for the first time. You should say what you ate, when you ate it, where you were, and how you felt about it. So some possible answers could be when you were traveling, you ate some local foods. For example, yakitori in Japan, paratha in India, picarones in Peru, and many more. Then make sure to describe this particular food specifically. Now, when describing this food, if it's really delicious, then you can say mouth-watering, delectable, flavorsome, or appetizing. However, if it's the opposite, you can say bland, nasty, horrible, distasteful, dull, bad, or displeasing. So some expressions that you can actually use, we have here eat like a horse, which means to eat a lot, or the opposite is eat like a bird, to eat very little. Consider the use of adverbs. For example, eat hungrily, eat sparingly, which means to eat little. So try using some of these expressions or words when creating a monologue out of this topic. Describe a time when you got close to wild animals. You should say where you were, what the animals were doing, who you were with, and what your reaction was. Possible answers could be at the zoo, when hiking and encountering some bears, or when visiting Africa. So we have types of animals like cold-blooded, which means animals whose body temperature depends on whether it's hot or cold outside. And the opposite is warm-blooded animals. Animals whose body temperature stays the same whether it's hot or cold outside. So some terms you can use, we have endangered, extinct, dangerous, rare, caged, species, and breed. Describe a house that you visited in but you did not want to live in. You should say where it is, what it is like, why you visited it, and explain why you would not like to live there. Let's dive into the possible answers. So we have Victorian, apartment, single family or detached house, townhome, contemporary, and farmhouse. So those are some types of houses. Alright, let's move on to reasons for not living in. Why you did not want to live in any of those houses. Maybe because it's haunted, unreasonably expensive, old-fashioned, and inconvenient. Some terms to use, we have concrete, half-timbered, red-bricked, 4-bedroom, 2-story, and many more. So these words can serve as your topic vocabulary words. So try using any of these in your answers. Describe a time when your computer broke down. You should say when it was, what you were doing, what you did about it, and how you felt about it. Here are some possible answers that you can use. Computers usually break down when, first, liquid spilled on electrical components, maybe overheating. Next, when there's power brownout. Next, there's a malware infection. and asking your PC to do a lot of tasks simultaneously, such as running an editing software, playing a media player, or opening some heavy files. So usually computers break down when these things happen. So some terms you might use when creating a monologue out of this topic. We have computer glitch, which means the failure of computer system. We have bugs or viruses, reboot or restart, shutdown, and data processing. Try using some of these words. Describe a time when you encouraged someone to do something that he didn't want to. You should say who he is, what you encouraged him to do, how he reacted, and explain why you encouraged him. So some ideas that you can use, we have to eat exotic foods. For example, frog legs, bird embryo, locusts bugs, and many more. Or maybe to do extreme sports like bungee jumping, skydiving, rock climbing, and many more. Or maybe to join a competition like singing, essay writing, dancing, or poster making. Some expressions that you can use, we have adjective plus the word encouragement, like considerable, great, positive. Yeah, considerable encouragement, great encouragement. We also have verb plus encouragement, like give him encouragement, offer encouragement, provide encouragement. So we also have this very good expression here, words of encouragement. It means the act of giving someone support or confidence or hope. So try to include some of these words in your monologue. Next, describe a time you had to wait in line for a long time. You should say when it was, where you were, why you were there, and explain how you felt about it. So some possible places where you can see a queue, we have stations, supermarket, drive-thru facility, movie theater, amusement park, and even concert hall. Alright, so we have phrases that we can use. We have the back or the end of the queue, the front or the head of the queue. Some adjectives that we can use to describe a queue, we have long, endless, growing, lengthening, and orderly. And we have verb plus queue, we have form, line up in, wait in, and stand in. Describe a part of a city or town you enjoy spending time in. You should say where it is, what it is like, what you do there, and explain why you enjoy spending time there. So some possible answers can be park. There's playground surrounded with beautiful trees and gardens. Downtown, lots of shops, restaurants, coffee shops, movie theaters, and many more. Maybe lake or river, you can have a picnic. You can do fishing or boating. So some reasons for spending time in one of those places can be provide peace of mind. You can have quality time with your family, or being close to nature, relieving stress, and you just want to relax. Describe a person who you think wears an unusual clothes. You should say who this person is, how you knew this person, what his or her clothes are like, and explain why you think his or her clothes are unusual. Let's dive into the possible answers. We have friend, your partner, your classmate, workmate, or even your teacher. So I have several examples of unusual clothes here. We have oversized boyfriend shirt, jeans with clear knee patches, and men's lace shirt. So you can check some examples of unusual clothes online. Alright, so we have adjectives plus the word clothes. We have beautiful, lovely, fancy, disheveled, ragged, shabby, baggy, and many more. And when it comes to verb plus clothes, we have put on. Let's have adverbs. We can say accordingly, appropriately, properly, inappropriately, and provocatively. For example, dress accordingly or dress appropriately. So familiarize these expressions because these expressions can definitely help you develop your answer or your answers better. Next, describe a time you needed to use your imagination. You should say when it was, why you needed to use your imagination, how difficult or easy it was, and explain how you felt about it. Here are the possible answers. We have reading a story, writing a story, or listening to a story. Or maybe you are decoding a poem or a song. Or maybe you are painting or you are designing. Now let's proceed to the adjectives that you can use with imagination. We have great, like great imagination, creative imagination, fevered imagination, and vivid. We also have some phrases that you can actually use. For instance, you have a lack of imagination, a figment of somebody's imagination, which means something that one has imagined. We have by any or by no stretch of imagination. It means to emphasize that something is not true. And finally, we have capture one's imagination. Of course, it means to hold one's interest. Describe a polite person that you know. You should say who he is, how you know him, what he is like, and explain why you think he is polite. So some possible answers can be your teacher, your classmate, a foreigner, an acquaintance, or even a politician. So let's have adjectives. Adjectives plus the word politeness. We have conventional, conventional politeness, natural politeness, social, common, excessive, like excessive politeness, and exaggerated. Examples of politeness may actually vary from culture to culture. We have bowing, the use of ma'am or sir, and even uttering some respectful words. And we have some places to witness politeness, such as restaurants, hotels, well, in Japan generally, office, basically service industries, and formal parties. Next, describe a time you made a promise to someone. You should say what the promise was, to whom you made it, whether it was easy or difficult to keep, and explain why you made it. Now, what are common promises that people usually make? We have buy a gift, taking someone to a new place, loving someone forever, helping someone something, and many more. Now, adjectives that we can use with the word promise, we have big, big promise, empty promise, broken promise, false, hollow, and even the word vague. And we have verb plus the word promise, like keep a promise, honor a promise, break, fulfill, and live up to promises or a promise. So some idioms, we have a promise made is a promise kept, which means when one makes a promise, it should be done. Another one, breach of promise, a violation of a promise one has made. And we have promise one the earth. It means to promise one something that's not feasible or cannot be done. So if you can, try using these idioms. Next, describe an interesting conversation. You should say who you spoke with, where you were, what the conversation was about, and explain why you think it was interesting. Now we have some possible interesting conversation topics. It could be rags to riches story, parenting, dieting, crime and detective story, entertainment, which includes music, movies, celebrity gossips, and the like. So we have synonyms of interesting. So instead of saying interesting all the time, try using fascinating, captivating, engaging, entrancing, enthralling. And we have adverb plus the word interesting, like immensely interesting, extraordinarily interesting, pretty, quite, and incredibly. Describe a time when you gave advice to others. You should say when it was, to whom you gave the advice, what the advice was, and explain why you gave the advice. Okay, so what are some types of advice? It could be legal advice, medical, love advice, parental advice, political, and even career advice. Now, adjectives for the word advice that we can use. We have practical, sensible, helpful, sound advice, valuable advice, unsolicited advice, constructive, excellent, and impartial. And we also have verb plus the word advice. Accept, follow, heed, and many more. So some advice-related idioms we have: don't bite off more than you can chew. That means don't take on a task that's just too big for you or you think you can't complete. And we have a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, and Rome wasn't built in a day. And that's a very popular idiom. So if you can, try using these idioms or those descriptive words so you'll be able to express your ideas even better. Describe a short trip you often take but don't like. You should say where you go, when you go there, why you go there, and explain why you don't like the trip. Now here are some possible answers. Going to work and taking the train. You don't like it because it's crowded, especially during rush hour. Visiting client's office. You don't like that one because it's demanding and stressful. Or we have driving or going to a supermarket on weekends. Well, it's traffic on weekends and supermarkets are packed. So some synonyms for the word short or short trip. You can say brief, little, and quick. And we have phrases here: a trip abroad and the trip home, which means return home. So familiarize the possible answers here. You might use this when you develop your monologue. Describe a perfect job you would like to have in the future. You should say what it is, how you knew it, what it is like, and explain why you think it is perfect. Possible answers: we have the type of job industries. Agriculture, think about the specific jobs in agriculture. Manufacturing, construction, IT, accommodation and food services, and many more. So some terms to use when talking about jobs: we have blue-collar jobs, white-collar jobs, skilled, semi-skilled, and many more. And I have prepared interesting job-related sayings which you can use if you like. We have choose a job you like and you will never have to work a day in your life. The best way to predict the future is to create it. And if you can dream it, you can do it. Describe a thing that you bought and felt pleased about it. You should say what you bought, where you bought it, what it is for, and explain why you felt pleased about it. So let's proceed to the possible answers here. Maybe it could be a house or a land property, gadget, dress, shoes, car, jewelry. Now, reasons for feeling pleased. Maybe because you've been saving a lot just to buy that particular thing. Or it's a reward for doing well at work or school. And yeah, sense of pride. And we have idioms or sayings about shopping. To pay one's way, which means earn enough to cover one's costs. To pay over the odds, it means to pay too much for something. To be all over the shop, which means to look everywhere for something. And to shop around, that means to visit a number of shops to compare prices. So familiarize these idioms. You might use one of these in your monologue. Describe a time you felt bored. You should say when it was, who you were with, what you were doing, and explain why you felt bored. Some possible answers that you can use: we have you're bored because of hunger, the lecture is boring, the conversation topic is not relatable, and the movie is not entertaining. So some phrases that we can use: a high or a low boredom threshold, bored to death, that means extremely bored, bored stiff, extremely unhappy because something is not interesting. And I have prepared some adverbs that you can use with the word bored: terribly, a bit, faintly, slightly. Example, terribly bored. So if you can use any of these, then please do so. Describe a kind of weather that you like. You should say what the weather is, where you go in this weather, what you do in this weather, and explain why you like it. So let's talk about seasons, because seasons are very related to weather. We have spring. If it's springtime, yeah, we can describe springtime as rainy, blustery, or having strong winds. Summer, sunny, the sky is clear, cloudy, partly cloudy. Autumn, we have cool, damp, calm, settled, and even foggy. And wintertime, we have bitter cold, snowy, frosty, and icy. So some expressions that you might use. We have breezy, it means having light winds. Freezing rain, or let's say freezing sleet. Part of rain is water and part of rain is snow. Light rain, that is drizzling or sprinkling. And we have overcast, which means cloudy. I think this is one of the easiest topics in the IELTS speaking exam, so try familiarizing just the words that you can use so you'll be able to describe the weather even better. Describe a toy you liked in your childhood. You should say what kind of toy it is, when you received it, how you played it, and how you felt about it. So let's have some types of toys. It can be toy car, Lego, toy gun, playhouse, paper dolls, kitchen utensils, transformers, troll dolls, and many more. And we have adjectives that we can use when describing toys. Fluffy, cuddly, soft, battery operated, electronic, remote control, educational, and squeaky. Collocations for the word toy, we can have pick up, put away, tidy up, tidy away. So familiarize the collocations. You might use this when developing your monologue. Next, describe a famous person you're interested in. You should say who he or she is, how you knew about him or her, what he or she was like before he or she became famous, and explain why you're interested in him or her. So possible answers can be local artist, international stars, political leader, leader of a particular movement. And think about what are they known for. Maybe they are into humanitarian works, they have exceptional talent, or they have an iron fist, meaning to say being a strong-willed leader. Adjectives to use, we have undisputed, rising, young, minor, international, national, and overnight, like overnight success. Describe a live sports match that you watched. You should say what it was, when you watched it, what it was like, and how you felt about it. Possible answers can be basketball, soccer, baseball, motocross, horse racing, or tennis. And we have adjectives plus the word sport. We can say mainstream, like mainstream sport, popular, amateur, professional, competitive, indoor, outdoor, individual, and team. So some terms you can use when talking about sports. So we have commentator or the sports announcer, teamwork, sports enthusiast. And when it comes to venue, it can be field, stadium, or even hall. Describe a time when you told your friend an important truth. You should say who your friend is, what the truth was, what your friend's reaction was, and explain why you think it was important to tell him or her the truth. Possible answers can be an important truth, like filing a bankruptcy, telling the reason of ending a relationship or divorce, cheating issues, sharing mental or physical health issues, and many more. Some adjectives that you can use, we have absolute, like absolute truth, honest, naked, simple, shocking, terrible, cruel, awful, painful, and harsh. And when it comes to verb plus truth, we have know, like know the truth, admit, speak, find out, discover, and accept. So some sayings include economical with the truth, that means to avoid revealing too much of the truth. To spill the beans, that means to tell someone something that should be kept secret. And to come clean, that means to tell the truth about something that you have kept secret. Describe a skill that you think you can teach other people. You should say what it is, when you learned it, how you can teach others, and how you feel about this skill. So let's have types of skill: communication skill or skills, language, management, computer, research skills, music, culinary, art, and many more. Adjectives that you can use with the word skill, we have essential, marketable, practical, transferable, and managerial. Now, verb plus the word skill, we have acquire, develop, learn, pick up, and possess. And we have idioms related to skills. To the best of one's ability, that means to do something well as much as they can. Do the trick, to do something what's exactly needed. And kill two birds with one stone, succeeding in doing two things at the same time. These are really helpful idioms, so try using some of these in your monologue. Describe a time you worked in a group. You should say when it was, what you did, who you work with, and explain why you worked in a group. Possible answers can be volunteering. And we have the expressions carry out, come forward to offer help, and man something. Another possible answer, we have playing a team sport, doing work project, or class project. And I have prepared some good sayings. We have two heads are better than one, which simply means it's easier for two people to help each other solve a problem than it is for one person to solve the problem alone. And we have we rise by lifting others, and talent wins games, but teamwork and intelligence win championships. So try using one of these sayings. Describe an occasion when you lost your way. You should say where you were, what happened, how you felt, and explain how you found your way. Possible answers can be you are lost during hiking or mountain climbing, moving to a new city, or maybe when you're traveling. How did you find your way? Maybe using Google Map or asking help from people. And how did you feel then? Maybe you're anxious and easy, or you're unbothered. So some phrases that we can use, we have lose one's way, that means unable to find the correct course forward. Get or find your bearings, to find out where you are and where other things are. And finding yourself somewhere, or find yourself somewhere, that means to realize that you are in a place. Some terms that you can use, we have landmark, navigate, and reference point. So familiarize these words because these words can definitely help you develop a better monologue. Describe a time you changed your opinion. You should say when it was, what the original opinion was, why you changed it, and explain how you felt about it. So possible answers are we changed opinions when we've made a mistake, or we have misjudged others, or we have acquired knowledge of something, or we've been criticized by someone or by other people. So these are just the common scenarios in which we need to change our opinions. Now we have adjective plus the word opinion, so we can say poor opinion, strong, mixed, and honest. And we have opinion plus verb, we have vary, differ, change. And phrases, we have a difference of opinion, that means two or more people disagree with one another. And we have in my humble opinion, and a matter of opinion, that means to say that something is based on opinion. So I think this is one of the easiest topics as well, because this is very relatable. We have opinions, and every now and then we change our opinions because of some reasons that I have mentioned earlier. Don't panic because your exam is very soon. Spend time studying the videos that appear on your screen right now. These can surely help you prepare better, as you'll get more ideas on how to answer the topic questions asked in the IELTS speaking exam. If you find value in this channel, don't forget to subscribe. I do appreciate it. Until the next lesson, have a lovely day.